everyone, welcome to Manitoulin Cooks. I'm your host, Tammy Albers, and today we're making dandelion jelly. And I'm sure some of you just went, what? And let me tell you, it tastes like sunshine and honey, and it's quite magical. So today we're doing dandelion jelly. I had a little girl help me forage a whole bunch of dandelion flowers. She kind of gave up. I think she was 5 at the time. She kind of gave up at getting the green off. So you have to twist the thing that holds the petals. Yeah, so every flower has that little green thing that holds the flower together. And you twist the bottom so the petals come out and there's no green in the petals. And then I just froze a certain amount of cups in large freezer bags, pushed the air out, laid them flat in my freezer. Yesterday I took them out of the freezer. Oh, and here are the ingredients we need. Sorry, I almost forgot that part. 2 cups, for every batch you need 2 cups of dandelion petals. And then you need 4 cups of boiling water. You need 4 cups of sugar. You need 1 box of pectin crystals, and you need 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. So yesterday I made dandelion tea. So I put the petals in this large quart jar. I boiled some water, and I added a little over 4 cups of boiling water to each jar. And it looks horrific. So once this cools off enough to go in the fridge, you cap it and you leave it in the fridge for 24 hours. I just took these out. And we need 8 cups because I'm double batching it. I mean, why bother doing it if you... So I'm pouring this in a cheesecloth lined strainer. Not attractive at all. No, I have to find my 8 cup mark here. I think that's right. I will bend down and look. Yes, 8 cups. So whatever petals I have left, I might make another batch of tea, like put them all in one jar, make another batch of tea, because they're very high in nutrient content, and with a little bit of honey, it's a really delicious tea, if you like that sort of thing. It's a cleanse for like kidneys, liver, so yes, you'll pee a lot, and if you have too much of it, you may end up with the diarrhea. Where are we at? So I have a little bit too much. I'm going to take this and scoop out some. Measuring is very exact with jellies and jams. You don't want too much, you don't want too little. So the other thing I have done in preparation is taken all the canning jars I plan on using. I've cleaned both sinks with baking soda and then rinsed that with boiling water and then spray it a bit with some hydrogen peroxide and water mix. Peroxide does not hurt a septic system and it does sterilize. And then rinse that with boiling water. I made this hot soapy water as hot as my hands could stand it. Washed everything, rinsed everything, drained everything, and then poured a pot of boiling water over the jars, and they're sitting there very sterile waiting for our next steps. So this recipe calls for, if I don't spill it, 8 cups of the tea. Oh, look at that. No spillage. Life is good. Calls for a tablespoon, and I'm going to get a cutting board. Calls for a tablespoon of lemon juice. I'm double batching it, so I'm doing 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. Because, you know, that's the math. Don't think I'm going to need that.
It's the quote of the day. That's the math.
That's the math. There's some great quotes I've read lately. And my post for today is, if you really do not want to be in a conversation with someone, take off your sock and pass it to them. And then we open 2 boxes.
Tammy.
What?
It's my sock.
I like it. She passed me her sock. She passed me her sock. And now I have to go steam my hand. And
this is not sanitary.
This is not sanitary anymore. 1, 2 tablespoons. Perfection. That almost fell down, which wouldn't surprise me if I did that. So pectin has expiry dates. So always check that, whether it's liquid pectin. So you sprinkle the pectin in. So for most jellies, you would use the powder. For no-cook jams, like freezer jams, you could use the liquid. So it depends on what you're making. So the pectin's in, the lemon juice is in, and I need my whisk. There it is. We're going to give it a bit of a stir to try and dissolve some of the pectin. It's not terribly effective. And then we have to bring this to a full-on rolling boil. Rolling. Not roiling, rolling. And I have the burner on high. Once we get the sugar in here, once it's boiled, it'll start forming this foam on top, and you try and keep scraping that off as you're cooking because it creates more clarity without the foam. So the thing about the pectin crystals, they do not dissolve fully until this thing gets good and rolling hot. So we're just going to let it boil. As I mentioned earlier, for every cup of liquid when you're making jelly, you need a cup of sugar, which I know is a lot of sugar, but it's what helps it gel. It's what preserves the jelly from going yuck. And if you want to try honey or maple syrup, you can do that, but that increases the liquid content. So I have the pectin crystals have dissolved. I have the liquid boiling, the dandelion tea. So we're dumping in our 8 cups of sugar into the pot, and we're stirring it so it will dissolve. And this is where you'll see the tea create a whole different color, hopefully. If it doesn't, I'll be very sad, but I'll still eat it. And then we bring this to a boil once again and let it boil for about 2 minutes. So everything is fully dissolved and everything, like when we boil, it creates a different molecular structure. So it helps the sugar and the pectin and everything with the water adhere better. Yeah, so we're going to bring that to a nice rolling boil, and we'll take it off the heat and can it. So I discovered the other day, because I do tend to do silly things. No one would know that for sure. That if you don't space your jars enough, you can't get your lids on without having to touch too many things, and you just don't want to do that. And I've already poured scalding hot boiling water in this bowl and let it sit. So I'm going to put all the rings and lids in so they're easy access. Boiling, 11:36. So we will boil till 11:38. And we will run our spoon across and take the foamy stuff off. So hopefully when it's done, we don't have any foam to worry about and wrestle with. See the foam? That's just a process from the enzymes and amino acids in the jelly, in probably the tea, and it helps with clarity in your jelly. If anyone watched our video with Farmer Ted and the maple syrup, he makes some amazing jellies. And then Brian Perry, who is also a farmer on Manitoulin, he specializes, well, as does Ted really, in a lot of hot pepper jellies, like various things using probably the hottest peppers you can get your hands on. So we have reached 11:38. We're going to leave that sit for a minute. Get some more of the stuff, the foam off. Ah, there's some. Beautiful. Now people advise us to use this funnel in our jars. Frankly, I think it's messier. If I'm careful with my dishcloth or the edge, I start pouring. And you see how it is a nice pale golden yellow now as opposed to that viscous, ugly green it was earlier in the jars. Just if you're going to pour, try and scrape as much as you can off the bottom of your cup. There's less drips. You want to leave some headspace. Always a little bit of space for when you are hot water bathing your jelly to seal the lids properly. And I don't know if you noticed on the bottom of the cup, it's already starting to gel. I take that as a very happy sign. So I like to fill the little jars first. Most of the jams and jellies and pickles and things I make, a lot of it becomes Christmas gifts, so I want everything to be pretty and giveable and giftable. And this really, like I said before, tastes like honey and golden sunshine, and I'm a big fan. Make sure you use a clean cloth that hasn't been used to wash anything but the jars. And you just kind of run it over anywhere you've seen little drips on the edges. You can use two different kinds of canning lids. I have both here. So we have a full lid that comes in one piece, but it still will jar up. And the other kind I have is the ring. Well, we won't be using that one because now it's dirty. And the lid goes in the ring. But we put the lids on first, and then we put the rings around. And then we just bring it, not even quite to a finger tight. We put the rings on. So I have a huge canning pot, bringing it up to a boil on the stove. And we'll show you what we do with that later. Never reuse this stuff if there's even the slightest bit of rust or dents. If you do, you leave yourself open for botulism. And botulism is the only form of food poisoning that doesn't need oxygen. It's anaerobic, and you can get very sick and die with botulism. It can slowly or quickly shut your organs down because this stuff multiplies any kind of organism, whether it's salmonella or a non-air-needing like botulinum, multiplies every 15 minutes. So if you have maybe 5 organisms in there, by the time you open a jar of this stuff, you have millions. And there are reports of many young people opening a can of whatever, and if you are opening a store-bought can, if it makes a loud fizzy noise, throw that out. Throw it out. Don't even take a chance. You can't heat or boil this stuff up enough to get rid of it. So this is how it looks. Very pale and golden, very soft and gentle. It has a lovely honey taste. It does have a summer taste. I had a little 4-year-old girl taste some, one of my best friend's granddaughters, that's Aubrey. And when she was 3 or 4, she had a taste and she went, "Oh my goodness, do you have more?" I said, "Yes, I do have a couple more jars." And she put the lid on and put it in her pocket. She said, "I'm taking this home." Okay, honey, how do you refuse a 4-year-old girl? And we don't need to worry too much about cleaning this stuff off. And it's gonna take a while for the canning pot. Is that all? the canning pot to come to full boil. And then it's going to take a while for it to also come back to a full boil. This is the cage that goes into the canning pot. And if you put everything in just so, you don't lose it out the side. Then again, you might. I don't want to. And you can stack them. As long as your pot is full enough. If you've gotten all sorts of jelly drips on your tea towel, don't use it. It's already gelled. The little bit of drips I had left, it is hard and gelled. Brianna? My God.
I mean, it tastes pretty good. That's pretty good. That's amazing.
Is it? You like it?
I do.
Yeah. It's
That's
quite
really
surprising, isn't it?
It does taste like summer.
It does. It's a honey kind of sunshine
Yes.
thing. Yes.
Yes.
It's bizarre. You want to make sure it's tight enough that it doesn't come off when you're doing the boiling water bath.
So for those of us who are new to jellying, what's the water bath for?
It brings everything up inside and outside to a boil. It allows any air in there to come out. It pushes the air out. So when you take it out, and most jellies are a 10-minute boiling water bath, but you want to get all the bubbles out, you want to get all the oxygen out, and that way you don't have the stuff left in there that could cause problems. And if they're not, when you take it out, you'll hear a popping sound, and that's all the lids going doom, doom, doom. It's sealing, it's not allowing anything in, and the odds of anything going yucky or moldy or food poisoning are like 100%, almost, well, 99.9% less. So I just had an epiphany because the jars are so small, they keep coming out of the canning cage. We're using some tin foil. It should be totally fine.
Should be.
Should be, with any luck. Got a boiling water bath, and I'm doing this a bit different than normal. Oh, I forgot that tin foil would be obnoxious.
I love how it like slowly.
Oh, and it's sunk. Excellent. And I think I might, no, I don't have room for the second one. So I'm going to set my timer for 10 minutes and we'll come back and pull them out when the time is right. And I'm taking this out and tipping it a bit so most of the water will come out of the foil lined cage, so we're not pouring boiling water on my toes. The first step I'm going to do is put the whole cage in my kitchen sink so it'll finish draining and cool off enough that I can deal with it. Keep an oven mitt on because these are very, very hot. This is the first one I pulled out after 10-minute boil, so they have cooled down enough for me to touch the tops. And you want to make sure you get it finger tight.
Oh, so you don't put them in tight.
Yeah, I mean you give them a good go, but you don't. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. We're starting to hear the top. Some have already sealed. Yep, they all have. They've all made their popping sound. Yep. So we just let these rest and set. And thank you very much for joining us on Manitoulin Cooks. Please be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube page. Thanks so much. Have a great day.